Okay, hello. We've been told that you can hear us now, and so I'm going to choose to trust Chris on that one. And welcome to another episode of the Cuppa The Day podcast. It's feeling very lonely on our start screen here. Only two hosts today, Babz. I've got a lot of space.
It's no need too much space. They say three's a crowd, but I have to disagree.
Well, if three's a crowd, I don't know what four is, and we are very lucky to be joined tonight by two guests to make sure that you are not just talking to us the entire way through. You'll know who they are. You'll love who they are. We are joined by both Whizzy and Stufts for this episode, playing for Exalty B, winners of the most recent EU Trackmania World Tour European Regional. And we're delighted to have them here with us. Whizzy, of course, has been with us before and needs no extra introduction, although we'll give him one in a second. Stufts, your first time joining us on the podcast. You're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, delighted to have you on. And Whizzy, you've been here before. You know what it's about.
You'd think so. I'm still scared for Babz's quiz, though. So.
Oh, that's true. That's all ahead of us. Babz will be going through a quiz with the two boys later on in the evening. But before we do get into that, Whizzy, we have talked to you plenty in the past about your experience with Trackmania, what you enjoy, what you're into, how you got where you are at in the scene. Stufts, you're a closed book to us. We don't know what's going on. And so we're going to spend a while running through exactly kind of, where you came from, how you got into the competitive scene, and where you are now. So I don't know, just to kick things off, do you want to give us a quick rundown of, obviously you are not from the British and Irish community. You are coming to us from outside, but, where are you from? How did you get into this?
So I am from the Netherlands, a small town. I have lived here my whole life, and I'm very glad to be invited here by Babz today as a member of the Dutch community instead of the British community, and I'm very excited to be joined by Whizzy.
Yeah, I'm super glad you accepted to be on. I know people are quite busy. It's difficult to make time, but when people do, it's really appreciated, especially somebody like you, because I don't know, it feels like you've been a name that has been growing within the community that a lot of people would know nowadays. But just looking back, just over a year ago, probably, you weren't as known. So, can you kind of talk us through that that growth and how you've gotten so good so quickly?
Well, I would like to say I've always been pretty good at games. Not trying to flex, obviously, but I think I have put a lot of effort and dedication into Trackmania to try and be as good as I can. And I think that has really helped me going forward. And just connecting yourself with people, being in the Dutch Discord, for example, a lot of great people in there playing TSCC, for example, and just playing as much tournaments as you can, really improving yourself.
Yeah, because
when did you actually? Sorry, I know, Babz, but you've jumped ahead in the story here a little bit, Babz. I want to know how Stuffed you even started playing Trackmania. When did you even start playing Trackmania?
I think I started playing around summer 2021, around there. That's when I've kind of started seriously playing. I saw Massa training TMGL, and I was kind of debating myself on whether I should buy club access and really start focusing on the game and trying to become as good as I can be. So that's kind of where I started.
You came in knowing that, you saw this game and you said, I want to be competitive straight off the top.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun game. I didn't really know any of the esports or the multiplayer behind it, but I just wanted to invest myself and see where I could go.
Were you competitive in other games before getting into that, or was this your first time kind of getting into any competitive esport?
Before Trackmania, I would say I've been playing Fortnite at a pretty high level, around top 100, top 200, I would say. And as Fortnite slowly started losing popularity, I wanted to try a different game, and that's where I discovered Trackmania.
Okay, that's insane because I've said it before on the podcast, and I hate mentioning it again, but I played Fortnite too for a while as well. And I remember coming over to Trackmania, seeing your name, I think in a Cuppa The Day lobby for the first time, and being like, I don't know why that rings a bell, but it's probably from previous games. It's probably Fortnite. Yeah, I recognize your name from.
I mean, that's pretty cool that you kind of see that transfer over from games.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
also such a funny pair of games to jump between. Like, there are really no similarities there. As far as I mean, listen, I'm the only one here, I think, who hasn't played Fortnite then. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not the person who'd say there's no skills transferable. Is there any skills transferable, though? The answer has to be no, right?
not really. I guess it's more mindset and dedication
Mm.
and training, since both games can be equal in you are having the same, say, gear or same weapons. It's very equal between players, so it's more into skill instead of luck.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably a mental thing. Like, so if you take the example of Fortnite, where you've got 99 other players in the lobby, and you have to focus on your own adventure through the lobby and making it as far as you can. Like, it's similar in Trackmania. If you take like an event like Cuppa The Day every day, you've got 63 other players in the lobby, but you have to focus on getting to the line as quick as you can. Not on everybody else. So maybe there are some transferable skills there.
I mean, Whizzy, have you been carried to any victory royales since teaming with Stufts then? Have you jumped over? You finish up with your practice for the evening and Stufts gets you there? now that now that it's on the table, it's been brought out into the open. So then you jumped in, you decided to get competitive. You started in 2021 Stufts. How long did it take you before you got onto your first team then?
I think around the end of 2021, I joined a team called Taipan, who is, I think, disbanded now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really anything serious for me. I had like 150 hours in the game, maybe. I didn't really know what I was doing, so I just tried to join a team. And it also ended pretty quickly in January. So there's not really anything lasting about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because continuing on from that, you had a spell where you've gone really from team to team, and that hasn't really ended yet. You've been bouncing around teams, and it feels like the stuff's being announced. Announcements are never ending. But can you kind of explain what happened during that period? Because I know you've been on multiple teams and high level teams at that.
So I think it was also a factor of me improving very quickly, maybe growing out of teams. But I never felt like a team was really my place to be. And for example, Evo, I was pretty happy. It went really good with Deska, but that was just very unfortunate, I would say. And for Wombo, I am really happy with being in the team, and I think the players and just being there really, really suits me.
Hang on a second, because Wumbo is just Team W now, right? Like, it's just W everywhere?
Yeah.
I had it in my head that they were Wumbo, and I couldn't find any proof of that anywhere. And I thought it was something I had invented. It is Wumbo, though. I am right. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it is true. I just like calling it Wombo. It's a lot easier.
It's a lot more fun to say. I can't understand why they changed it. Honestly, deeply upsetting, but at least I know it's not my fault. I'm not going crazy. That is something that I heard somewhere for real. Delighted to hear it. I mean, look, Deska, stage 1 Trackmania World Tour, things went pretty well for you guys. How, like, that entire experience then, like, with you kind of growing as a player, finding a place where you were kind of happier than you'd been, and all of a sudden the competition kind of opened up at the top level. That must have felt like it came at exactly the right time for you as well.
Yeah, I think it was my first really serious kind of esports tournament. I played in an OGL before, but I wasn't really that good back then. But I gained a lot of experience and confidence in stage 1, and it really helped me also this stage to performing with Whizzy and being the player that I am now.
Yeah, because stage 1 had some ups and downs. Obviously, you guys performed like really, really well and came very close to getting even further and maybe even winning a regional, which you have done now. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, stage 1, joining Evo, playing with Deska. How did that come about? How did that partnership with Deska come up?
I think Import and Scarzor mainly reached out to me. They saw I was looking for a teammate for stage 1, and they were really interested in me joining Evo. Not really certain who I was going to play with, but Deska ended up being available, and he was like a perfect match for me.
It's always nice when that works out. It's one of those things that I think, especially with this format, the duos format, some players are still, I think my impression is anyway, kind of half going it alone a little bit, where, you know, they're playing with a duo, but a lot of practice is individual. They're still kind of, you know, you show up together on game day and you're just relying on the other person to do well. Maybe you're sharing some of your strats, you know, there's tips and tricks, but do you find, are you enjoying more this format then as well, where you kind of have a second person to practice with? Has that been the big benefit?
Yeah, for me it has. I have never really been that good at solos, except for maybe a couple of the days. But I think it gives me a lot more confidence and trust. It's very very nice if you make a mistake and your teammate can clutch out a round for you. That it just helps your motivation and keeps you going for the rest of the match in the tournament.
It's interesting, that sort of dynamic, because at its core, Trackmania is such a solitary game. Like I was talking to OC, one of the Irish players, about this recently. He's just joined his first team. He joins the split B team, and he was asking me, in DMs about advice and stuff like that. And I was just saying, well, joining a team is a great step, but at the end of the day, it's still a very solitary, experience. You're trying to grind, you're trying to get better yourself. But it's interesting how, in contrast to that, during an event, having somebody to bounce off and trusting that other person, your teammate, can make you perform better. So like that's kind of interesting how that sort of mentality works. So yeah, despite all of the skill, for you, the mentality side of it has quite a big impact, does it?
Yep.
Listen, Whizzy, I know you haven't been asked many questions now, so I'm just going to throw one at you real quick that's come from chat. When are you going to be revealing your workout routine?
Well, that's a bit of a turn of events, but no time for workouts. It's a sad truth. I've never been to the gym, so it's I guess I'm not like Giga Jam Pack. I'm just so, yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm just lucky, but
Your
yeah.
essence of Giga Chat.
No time for the
We
gym.
are just
only
built
racing.
Only racing. No, like, listen, what you got to get yourself is, a wheel like Grenadi, and then just crank up the resistance all the way, and then just, practicing is working out. It's genius.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, if you want, if you want to look like Pac, just play speed with the wheel, then that'll get you sorted.
It'll be sorted by the end of it. Stufts, you thought you were getting away, but I'm back. I have more questions, and I want to know, like, what was it like? You joined your Dutch. The Dutch scene is pretty strong. I mean, obviously, Spammy has been there since the start. Were they welcoming when you joined, or did you kind of naturally gravitate towards the international community quickly?
No, I think they were very welcoming. They one of the players reached out to me to invite me to the Discord, and I think it has been growing ever since. I don't really know of the history. Let's say TM2, for example. I know Spam has been around for a while, but recently the Dutch scene has really been growing with the first edition of Gamax and obviously other editions and Racer Summit coming up. I think I'm really excited to see where the Dutch scene can go.
Yeah, it's one like community that I've kept an eye on quite a bit, and like from its starts, well, for a lot of people in TM 2020 through TSCC, has kind of built those communities. And you mentioned those Dutch lands, and I wanted to touch on Gamax, which happened not that long ago, because it felt like the event where maybe somebody had a chance of taking down Spammy, and for a lot of people that was you in their eyes. So how was that? How did that event play out for you, and kind of what were your expectations for it?
I definitely competed for the win, trained for it. I would say Spam trained more than me, which was pretty surprising to me. But I kind of showed my pace in the winner bracket final, beating Spam, obviously. But then I lost it in the final, maybe to nerfs. I don't really know, but I feel like I definitely competed with him and will also do so for the next edition coming up.
I mean, some fighting talk. Yeah, there's a bit of a Dutch king, who's on his throne, and it feels like somebody, with everybody just waiting for somebody to take him off it. But I wanted to
that's definitely a man who's too focused on the gym to really focus on driving the car fast. Okay, I think we all know it. We can all accept it here.
I mean, to be fair, during that period, I remember watching Spam stream, seeing the amount of hours that he put into.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, yeah. Did really work to make sure that he did not get knocked off that throne prematurely.
I mean, Stuff said that was surprising. It probably is surprising because a lot of people would expect maybe Spam, to put in some practice for his stream and stuff, and then turn up and just try and do the best he can. And maybe that's how somebody could have beaten him. But no, he wanted to win that. That wasn't just for fun. He wanted to win the event. And I wanted to ask you, Stuffs, how was that feeling of playing on LAN? So with all of your competitors around you and like in such close proximity compared to playing in any online events?
For first, it was really fun meeting everyone. Also, some members from the British community. You have Apples and Roy Boy, for example. It was really nice seeing them and seeing their faces. And I think I also have a lot more confidence on LAN, kind of to show how I play, how good I am, and I think it really helps me.
And was that your first ever LAN event, like in esports in general?
Yeah, it was also with Arcadia, which took place before Gamax 2, and also Gamax 1, where I also got second. That was kind of the first, let's say, smaller edition of Gamax, where it was only Dutch people. But those were my first lands in esport, yeah.
You got to mention, Babz, the real reason that you've been keeping an eye on the Dutch scene as well, of course, which was the Irish team, which you were on, getting knocked out of the Trackmania Country Championship by a Dutch team in 2022. I mean, really just devastating. And as your bitter enemies, I assume at this point, you've just been making sure that, like, what's going on over there so you can undermine them at a key moment. Is that right?
No, I mean, you're bringing back memories.
Good ones, right? Yeah, getting beaten 3-0 in that upper bracket.
I just keep thinking to that map 15 of that campaign and getting a no slide every first drift.
Yeah, wasn't even the team that had Stufts on it. Wasn't even the first Dutch team. There was 3 Dutch teams in that event.
Oh, man, yeah. No, but you said it. I actually do follow the Dutch scene just because it is so comparable to something maybe a bit smaller, but of the Irish scene. Trying to do its own events, but now it's probably taken a leap forward with the hosting lands and everything, which is actually really cool because it started off obviously just for the Dutch scene. I mean, Stuffs could tell you himself, but now with these international players coming in and the next one, promising to be something quite special, we could see these Dutch lands become, just a staple of the Trackmania competitive calendar.
I mean, I definitely hope so. It is a lot of fun having them in general, and just having more lands to attend. Lands are always fun. Lands are just a good time for everyone, because it is when the community really can get together, and that's where you really bond. And it's nice seeing them coming back. Do we have anything else we want to really touch on here? I mean, Stufts, is there anything you want to bring up about, your experience in general getting into Trackmania? Things have gone. We're obviously going to head into a quiz shortly then, and then we'll get more into what specifically this season has been like with Whizzy and teaming there and how it's been playing as Exalty B and things. But, just Stufts solo at the moment. Is there anything in particular you want to bring up?
I just think I'm very, very lucky to be in this position now, to be where I am. And I'm just very excited to keep it going from here. That's really it.
Well, we've spoken a lot about your competitive pedigree and your need to be part of competition. And you might not have watched any of the Cuppa The Day episodes, but the biggest competition you can attend is the Cuppa quiz, which we're going to dive right into. And you are going to be facing off against your teammate in Whizzy, and it's going to be quite an interesting fight. Now, let me get this up. Okay. Chris, can we switch to the correct scene? There we go. Okay, now we're in the arena and things get serious. Whizzy, you've been here twice before. It's your third time into the the Colosseum that is the Cuppa the Day quiz. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling the pressure. I've got to redeem myself after the lackluster performance last time.
Yeah, the last time was the Cuppa Champions edition, and it was not a champions performance. Learning from that, do you have any words of advice or even warning for Stufts going into this quiz?
I mean, I would just say if you need a lifeline, then just call Jorday. He's very good at guessing answers. We'll say very precisely. But yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and Stufts, now this must be quite a daunting prospect facing up against Whizzy, and you might not know what's in store, but how are you feeling?
I think I'm ready. I think I can beat him more than let's say with the knowledge test from last one. I would have been really bad at that, but I think I have a chance.
They think they have a chance, both of them, while the chat is going to have a chance to partake in this one. Because, the Cuppa quiz has taken a lot of different forms throughout I was going to say the years. No, we're not there yet. We're only on episode 10, but throughout the editions and, all just as good as the last, of course. But this one is going to be a couples Cuppa quiz. Since you are duos in Trackmania World Tour and you have won the last regional, I want to get to know you guys off the track. What is your interest off the track and what interests you? And that is why, previous to getting into a call with you guys, I did send you a few DMs and I wanted some answers from you guys. And we're going to run through these. And the way it's going to work is we're going to start. I don't know who we'll start with. I'll let you guys decide in a while. One of you will start and you will have to try and guess the answers that your duo gave to the questions previous to coming on air. Now, you will have 3 shots at getting the answer right. If you get it on the first one, you will get 3 points for that question. On the second one, you will get 2. If you get it on the third guess, then you will get only 1 point. If you do not get it in those 3 guesses, then you will get 4 points. Never mind, you will get 0 points. My bad. So the goal is to have the most points as possible at the end. Now, the first question is one that the chat is going to be able to partake in. I said it before. Now, the first question is, and I asked you guys this in DMs, do you have any hidden talents? And the chat is going to be able to decide which of those hidden talents is their preferred one, and they will be able to award an additional point to either member. Now, Whizzy, what was your hidden talent that you mentioned to me?
So I'm not sure if it really counts as a talent, but we'll see. But it's so I can. For those who've watched Frozen 2, you'll know this. I can sing the song "Into the Unknown" in the 29 different languages that it alternates through the song with all the lyrics. But not sure if that counts as a talent, but it's one of the few I have. So
If anybody is completely yak and does not know what Whizzy is talking about, I will just link it in the chat for all of you guys so you can have a look. Of course, you can take a look afterwards if you want to. But I am going to ask any mods in chat if Demon Dragon is in chat. So maybe start a little poll once Stufts has given his answer. Because Stufts, what was the hidden talent that you mentioned to me?
Well, compared to Whizzy, it's a pretty boring one. But I would say I'm a pretty good carter. I've done it for a few years now, and I would say it's one of my talents. But yeah, that's really it. That's it.
Now, it's an interesting answer considering the person you're up against. Because Whizzy, would you not consider yourself a pretty good carter as well?
well, I'd like to think so, but I'm not too sure. But I'm okay. I'm okay.
Well, your humbleness, Whizzy, has drawn you into going first in the quiz because I'm going to ask you to give me your guesses to the answers to the questions that I asked Stufts before coming on air, and you are going to be going first. Is that okay with you?
Of course, of course.
All right, now question number 1. It was quite a simple one, just to get things kicked off. I wanted to know, what is Stuff's favorite music style? And I gave you a few options. I gave you rap, drum and bass, pop, rock, or house and electronic. What do you think Stuffs like to listen to?
And I could be stalling here for content, but was it three chances you said I have? Is that
Yeah,
right?
you have 3 chances, and the points go down as you burn through those chances.
Okay. I think we'll go for. I think for the first choice, I will go for rap.
And you've got it in one. Rap is the answer that Stuffs did give me. And Stuffs, any particular artists that you like listening to?
Ooh, I like listening to Travis Scott. That's one of my favorites. So it's kind of in that direction. So yeah, rap was correct.
Rap was correct, and yeah, it seems like Whizzy knows what you're into, and that is going to be 3 points going the way of Whizzy. And we're going to move straight on to question number 2, and this one is a bit more Trackmania related, and I would be I'd be a bit disappointed if you didn't get this one. So, what is Stuff's favorite World Tour map of Stage 2?
Well, I can definitely say for myself as well, it's probably not Sinuous, but being as though we've pretty much banned it most times, but I would say, because I was. This is just me thinking aloud, but I think would you I don't know if you'd put that though. And of course, as at the time, I forget half the maps what they're called. But I think for the
There's a lot of
okay.
thinking noises going on, Whizzy.
You should see me in exams. That's even worse. But I think for the first choice, we'll go for Vortex first choice.
Stuffs, is Vortex the right answer?
It is not.
It's
Okay.
not the right answer, unfortunately. So you're gonna not be deducted a point, but you'll have one less chance to get that point. So you can only get 2 points from this question now if you get it right.
Ooh. Okay. We'll go for second chance. We'll go for Control.
And you did get it on the second one. Yeah, what is it about that map that you enjoy, Stuffs?
I think it's very unique compared to the other maps. It's my first map that I really practiced, really hunted, and it's just my favorite out of all of them.
I mean, that's very, very understandable. That means that 2 points go the way of Whizzy. So yeah, only one wrong answer after 2 questions. We're moving on to question number 3, which is, what team in TMGL is Stuff's favorite team?
I think that's a good one. I would.
Thank you.
Ooh. I'm. I would say that, but I won't say that. Let's go for. Yeah, we'll go for the first option. Um, I'll go for. I'll go for Alliance first choice.
There's a lot of hesitation going on there. I feel like you had a lot of answers floating around in your
Yeah.
head. Stuffs, is Alliance the right answer?
Alliance is my second pick, actually, so it's not correct.
Unfortunately, it was your first pick, Wizzy, so that means that it's not correct.
Okay.
What is your second guess?
Let's let's go for let's give Elkon and Mime some love into the breach.
Is Into the Breach the right answer, Stuffs?
It is not.
It's 2 down. One last chance on the, or else you're getting 0 points from this answer. What is your third guess? Out of the 8 teams that are in TMGL, 6 are left. You need to choose one.
Yeah. Ooh. I will say. What will I say? I think I'll say. I'll go for. I'll go for sinners. Go for sinners, but not too sure.
Is Sinners the right answer, Stufts?
It is not the right answer.
That's 3 incorrect answers from Whizzy. You're getting 0 points from this one. Can you reveal what the correct answer was?
It is big.
That's
There's
fair. That is. Yeah.
There's the
Should've,
link.
yeah.
I feel like Massa, Travis Scott, rap music, it all links together. So yeah, Stuff's favorite team in TMGL was indeed Big, and we are going to move on to question number 4, which is who out of the popular Trackmania streamers would you say is Stuff's favorite? And this is including any pro players.
I would. I will say first choice to be Birdie. I think.
I'm not even going to ask Stuffs because unfortunately that is the incorrect answer. I'm going to need a second guess from you, Wizzy.
Okay. Wha- Therefore, I will go for. We'll go for the spammy guy.
I mean, his fellow countryman, but once again, not the correct answer. You have one last chance to salvage a point from this question.
Oof. And then we'll. I think we'll have to go for. We'll go for Massa. Big. Sorry, marketing Massa. Sorry, but yeah, Massa.
You salvaged a point on the last guess, and Massa, yeah, the running theme continues into question 4. Massa is Stuff's favorite streamer, and now the final question, and you know what it is, Wizzy, but I'm going to still say it for the viewers: pineapple on pizza, yes or no, according to Stuffs.
I mean, ooh, it's a 1 in 2 chance, I guess. Do I still? Is it still the 3, 2,
This
1
is a
point?
1-point answer. If you
1
get it right,
point
you get 1
answer?
point. If you do not, you
Okay.
do not get any points.
I'm Boy, I don't know why I'm taking so long. Let's just go for an answer. We'll just say yes. We'll say yes.
Stuff's pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Salvage the point right at the end. I mean, you started
Oh.
off very strong, was it? First guess, second guess, and then it kind of went downhill. So that puts you at a total of 6 points, according to Chris in the background, who I'm hoping. Last question was 1 point added to your tally, which actually brings it up to 7. So 7 points after those 5 questions. And are you happy with your performance, Wizzy?
I mean, that's the TMJ question was just a disaster, but not too bad. I think we could take that.
I mean, 7 is the number to beat. Are you ready to take on the quiz, Stuffs?
I am.
Okay, well, we're just going to dive straight in because question number 1 that I asked Wizzy earlier on was, what is his favorite music style? Is it rap, drum and bass, pop, rock, or is it house and electronic?
I would go for rap.
It's a strong answer to start things off. Wizzy, what was your answer?
It was indeed rap.
I mean, the common points between you two guys continue. So that is 3 points going the way of Stuffs. After question number 1, we're going to continue on the strong pace. Question number 2. What is Wizzy's favorite World Tour map of Stage 2?
So I think the obvious answer would be breaking his own map, but I think it's more about playing. So his favorite map would be, I think, Grip.
The logic is just brilliant. The reasoning is just as brilliant, and I can tell you that is the correct answer. Grip is the Wheel Abuser's favorite map, and that is another 3 points going the way of Stuffs.
It's true though.
Despite your own map control being breaking being a brilliant map as well. Question number 3: what is Wizzy's favorite TMGL team, or which team is his favorite team?
A hard one, but I think I'll just throw a guess out there and go Alliance.
I mean, you've gone with the same guess as Whizzy did for your question. Whizzy, is that the correct answer?
That is not the correct answer, I'm afraid.
That is not the correct answer. And Stufts, I will remind you that you're currently on 6 points. So if you get it on this guess, you will win the quiz overall after 3 questions. But what is your second guess?
I really don't know. I think I'll go for Solary a second.
Is that the correct answer, Whizzy?
That was indeed the correct answer, yes.
Which means that Stufts, after question number 3, moves up to 8 points and, I mean, is already the winner after 3 out of 5 questions. Actually, never mind, because I'm hearing in my ear that the poll that we ran for the hidden talent went the way of Whizzy, which means that he gets an extra point. So now you guys are tied with 2 questions left for Stufts. Question number 4 was, who is Whizzy's favorite popular Trackmania streamer?
I just need 1 point, so I'll just guess the obvious one and go for Spam as first.
I mean, the obvious one. Is it the correct one, Whizzy?
It is indeed Spam.
I mean, yeah. So just putting any doubt aside, that's a resounding win. And I mean, we'll go into the final question just to close it out. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no, according to Whizzy?
I would say no.
I mean, almost flawless. Almost flawless. An extra point goes the way of Stufts. That's a resounding win. 12 points to 8, Whizzy. Another defeat on the Cuppa Quiz podcast. How does it feel?
Yeah, that's like sticking a microphone into Charles Leclerc's mouth after qualify. I think maybe I should retire. But yeah, no, fair play to Stuff. He's got the knowledge and power, so fair play.
Stuff you've come in with less experience, but you've shown your dominance in the quiz. Happy with your win?
Yeah, definitely good entry into the quiz. Not bottling it like the Champions Edition, I would say. But yeah, I'm happy with the win.
The competitive spirit was there from the start to the end. I want to congratulate my 2 participants. Congratulate Stuffs on the win, and yeah, thank you for taking part. I'll see you guys and the audience again for another Cuppa Quiz next week. But for now, let's get back to the chatting.
Whizzy, I got some
Hello,
questions about
Okay,
what happened in the middle of that quiz.
Okay.
All right, you were here for the first half of this entire podcast when we heard Stuff talk about how he got into Trackmania from watching a Massa stream.
Yes. Well. Yes. Well. I can blame the question about the workout routine.
I'm reading through you off. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love it. I love the distraction. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I don't know. It turns out Stufts knows more about Whizzy than Whizzy knows about Stufts. And so I guess hopefully we haven't created any friction in the training environment over the coming weeks. If we do, again, that was Babz's idea, definitely not mine. To run the quiz in this way. But let's talk a little bit about that training environment. Let's talk a little bit about how this team came together for the start of this season. And in fact, let's just kick things off here. I mean, how did you guys end up teaming together at the start of stage 2?
should I go first? It doesn't matter, or just anything.
Whoever wants to answer the question, if you both want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah, I think so. At least on my side, I think already talked about this previously, but yeah, of course, Stuff was Disca's teammate in stage 1, and then Disca decided to take a kind of a back step. So then fired a message, to Stuff, so because I knew, very very talented up and coming player, and was available. So and yeah, then it kind of kicked off there as a summary on my side, anyway.
I mean, how did you feel when that message came in? Like, were you excited? Did you take a while to think it over? What was the mood?
Well, yeah, I posted the LFT message, and to my surprise, honestly, Whizzy was really the only good candidate for me. that DM'd me, so it was kind of a no-brainer to play with him, and yeah, that's really it.
I remember this this happening, and I remember Stufts posting his LFT message and me adding Whizzy in the comments. So even though these guys won't mention it because it's probably not how it happened, I feel I had my part to play in this. You know, any
Trackmania matchmaker.
exactly any success you guys get, you know, I had my part to play in it. And if it all goes downhill from here, well, that was probably me as well with the quiz.
Babz has begun this team. Babz will end this team by asking difficult questions live on stream. But I mean, it's worked out very well. You know, I mean, hey, Regional 1 went well. Regional 2 went better. You guys managing to pull out the win on that one. Congratulations, if I haven't said it already. An absolutely massive performance, and I think genuinely just showed how strong the EU region is as a whole. I mean, obviously, all of the regionals are great. Standard is rising globally. We've talked about how the Dutch community is growing. We're seeing the North American community also on a pretty big rise with the game as well. But the EU regionals really are still at a peak, I think, compared to the other regions. And so fighting to stay at the top of that, going to be tough, I think, in the future. But before we get into any of that, I mean, how did it feel, Stufts, winning that regional, you know, feeling probably like, you know, you made the right decision going with Whizzy then when you did that left looking for team?
Yeah, I was really happy. I would say my performance in the finals was not that great in the latter stages, but having Whizzy there as teammate really helped me, and brought us back on track for the last map where we won it out.
It really felt kind of like a crowning moment for you to you know, Stufts. We've spoken about your rise through the ranks, and Whizzy, you've always been knocking on the door for a while now. You know, showing that talent that you have, and you beat a team of BPP, which is Lego and Pasito Paco, who are two extremely strong players. You know, how are you feeling just before that match going in? You know, knowing you're facing off against these two titans of the regional scene.
I would say we were confident. We saw that they had a bit of a struggle against Ferox, and we knew that we could definitely compete against them as the favorites. Maybe not in the way as we did on the first 3 maps, it being that one-sided, but I would say we were definitely confident going into it.
Yeah,
And,
I can agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Whizzy on your side, because Stuff's saying that he had a poor performance by his standards in the final. How did you feel like the final went for you?
I kind of mixed. I think you know, some maps went kind of better than others. I mean, it's interesting always watching the VODs back, seeing where you gain time, lose time. I feel like the times I could put in, it's always the way though, but the times I could put in practice, you know, weren't quite reflected in at least on some of the maps. I think I really played good on Old Frosty, but unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. You know, the round where both me and Bushy Tobacco did basically top 10 times was is a fantastic race with him. But yeah, kind of mixed. I feel like I've, in terms of the times that I can put in, more to show, but ultimately it doesn't really matter because, you know, we managed to walk away with the win, and that's kind of the most important thing, I think.
And just to set up a follow-up question here as well, I'd love to know what comms are like for you guys during matches, you know, or do you have that dynamic where one of you is kind of, you know, checking the position of the other team, making the calls on when to push and not, or is it kind of both of you focusing on your own races?
I think it's I don't know. I think it's relatively. I think the dynamic is quite similar to if you watch Massa's doing his kind of rundowns of his video of his matches. I would say at least the amount of communication and the type of communication is similar to that, where we're very full focus, and you know, we only really highlight the key information. So you know, if you know, sometimes because I try to flick the HUD on and off, and I think I'm not sure what you do, Stuff, but yeah, I try to flick the HUD on and off. So I have kind of areas in the track where I can look at the HUD and kind of analyze the situation. But yeah, we kind of just mainly full focus and then highlight the key information really.
Yeah, because your duo was interesting, like for various reasons. It's a mix of two interesting styles of players. Obviously, Whizzy, you're one of basically two high-profile wheel players in the competitive scene, and Stufts is a rising star as well. And one thing I wanted to highlight is if we look at the highest tier of competitive Trackmania at the moment, so Whizzy representing the kind of BITM community, we only have Pack, at the top in TMJL, Team Seattle. Stufts, Spam retired not too long ago, so there is no Dutch representation apart from in TMCL. How far are we aiming to go with you guys?
My goal is definitely Team CL. What happens after that is not really something to predict, I think. Knowing maybe Nadeo with changing formats and how everything works, but getting Team CL at least next year is definitely a big priority for me.
Yeah,
Whizzy?
absolutely. Yeah, I think we're definitely on the kind of same boats. Especially for me, I mean, I got pretty close. Jorday spare with the Open Grand League in some time in the past, aware, but I got really close and I couldn't manage to close it out. So, but also, looking at the Challenger League, kind of the standard in Challenger League and talking or listening to some of the Grand League players' opinions on Challenger League, where they're very much kind of they're kind of, it feels like they're kind of waiting to see some star quality. So I think whether we're able to show what we can do and whether it's good enough, I'm not sure, but I think yeah, it would. We're both on the same page where we both want to get the Challenger League and try and show what we can do.
We probably do need to talk about the elephant in the room then. If sights are set on Trackmania Challenger League, you guys are playing for Exalty. I mean, first of all, how's that been? But also, second of all, if you do manage to make it to the Challenger League, Exalty aren't allowed to have two teams. And, obviously at that point, you'd kind of be left looking for a new org at that point. I mean, is that something you're kind of nervous about if that ends up being the direction things going? Or are you just kind of saying, look, we'll make it there and then it's focus on everything else after that?
I think what we talked about was obviously Whizzy kind of asked me to join Exalty, but we knew that eventually, if we were to reach the top levels, we would have to leave. And we said to each other that we would focus on regionals, kind of see what we can do, where we can go, and after we'll see together. Maybe we look for the org, maybe we go solo, but that's not really decided, I think.
Yeah, it's nice to see that your commitments lie with each other, which is good. Like that there's good synergy there.
Just an interesting follow-up that occurred to me there is, I mean, is there any thoughts in the back of your guys' head that you might be in a position where Exalty have to choose between me, Quattro, and Link and you guys if you make it? And is there any world where you think they'd stick with you? Would you hope that they stick with you?
I think it's a tough one. I think ultimately, Link and Makoto are extremely renowned players, and they've got so much they can show. And it's been proven. Both these guys have been in Grand League, and or should be in Grand League. With of course Link in I think it was Winter 21, summertime around that, and of course Mikachu qualifying legitimately to the Grand League. But that's ultimately not a decision, and I think the kind of, I guess you could say the politics, I guess you could say, but there's kind of a decision making. It's not in our hands, so we're not. Or at least I'm not trying to not going to focus on that. I'm just going to focus on how I play and enjoy my time with Exalty, because they are a fantastic organization to be with.
It's interesting because to add on to that, and really a follow up to the follow up question, is there's also there's a transfer period, that is approaching, and that could be interesting. Obviously, we're not going to speculate too much about what could and what might be, because I imagine it would be a similar.
Yourself, I mean. That's...
I imagine it would be a similar answer from you guys. That it's stuff will come and happen, but something that is approaching as well, not only about promotion and relegation, is the World Cup. It's coming up at the end of the year. You guys, I mean, I've looked at the standings today. You guys are only 11 points behind that main Exalty roster in terms of World Tour points, which means you currently are qualified to the World Cup wildcard. Is that something that you're looking ahead to? And I'll come to Stufts with that first.
Yeah, it's definitely the main event of the year. And also being announced that I think the top 4 teams, I don't know if it's World Cup in general or World Cup wildcards, make it to TMCL. I think that definitely gives us an option, and also kind of knowing that maybe the TMCL slots for next year will switch. But we don't really have any info on that yet.
Yeah, a lot left to be announced, and Whizzy, on your side, the World Cup is a big prospect. More than, I mean, Stufts is looking at it as a way into Challenger League, but the World Cup in itself, is the biggest event Trackmania and Nadeo hosts itself. Is that a goal? Is that something that you're aspiring to achieve?
For sure. I mean, the first kind of esports or the Trackmania esports event that I watched was the World Championships of 2021, I think, with virtual and medic casting, and with, I think it was Pat, Carl J, Kappa, and oh gosh,
Cuppa, Pack,
and Nafi, I
Carl,
think.
Nafi, yeah.
And so that was kind of the first, that's kind of what got me into it, really, or a lot more interested. So absolutely, yeah, we it's all, as Stuff said, it's a fantastic way into Challenger, but also, it's a chance for big teams to, to hopefully see what everyone can do. If we see this, if we look at, for instance, the All Stars. Of course, it was it was a little bit hit and miss, but just the concept of having Grand League, Challenger, and also regional teams, could all compete at the same in the same tournament. That would also be a good opportunity for us, I think, as well.
And looking at what you said your aim was in Challenger League, and knew it's really a question for you as well, since you do cast for Challenger League. If these guys, have a chance of making it there, how excited would you be to cast a duo like this, considering that there has, in Challenger League, it's been a bit more like teams perform and some don't. We've seen alternate attacks being on a tear, and I feel like a lot of people want somebody to challenge them.
Yeah, I mean, I am just excited anytime things get shaken up a little bit as well. Ascent obviously made it in this season, and I'm heartbroken that they haven't won a match yet, right? Because they have shown that the top of the kind of European third league, I guess, the regionals teams, can definitely hang there. They've been so close to beating some of these teams. I'd say, honestly, I think they're probably playing better than Easy Dream are, but they're the team that are sitting on 0 wins, and that's just, I think, unfortunate, because a lot of it just comes down to who you face on the day as well. And if your peaks match their peaks and their peaks are just that little bit higher, then you're not going to come away with the win. I'd love to see this duo make it all the way into the Challenger League. I'd have a great time. I'd be absolutely unbiased, obviously, of course, but there's a big fat wink at the end of that.
and we're in the last day of May. We're going into June, the 6th month of the year. There's still half of the year to go. A lot of events to get through, a lot of training to be done. Is your guys' sole focus on World Tour, or events outside of that. You know, there's Ascension. is an
Ascension
event.
exists, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta register that Ascension is there.
And as you know, it's commonly known, you know, money is quite cool. And Ascension has a lot of it. I mean, the prize pool is getting to, I think it's around 50,000 euros now, which is just insane. It's the biggest prize pool we've ever seen in Trackmania 2020. Are you guys, as solos, making that one of your priorities for this second half of the year? And I'll start with Stufts.
Me personally, I really don't like Zero team maps. It's like kind of RPG trial-ish maps are really not my style. I'm really bad at it. So I have personally, it's maybe an opportunity for us, I would say, to really focus on regionals and take advantage of teams that do focus on Ascension. And I think it also helped us for this regional, and might also help us for maybe wildcards, since it kind of overlaps, and also for regional 3.
There's a really interesting point there as well, which is, you know, if you're looking at these bigger profile events as a way to boost kind of your visibility as individual players and as a team as well, recognizing that a map does not, or that an entire map pack doesn't play to your strong suits, and saying, this doesn't work for me, I'm not going to look as good as I could going to this event, and that's not what I want at this point, is also, it's a great thing to recognize, you know?
I was going to add to that. It's a really great mentality to have. It's almost the answer I was hoping to get from you, Stufts, because it's kind of, you know, a lot of people with that sort of rise to prominence, you know, would get kind of greedy and would try to latch onto anything they could. But I think you're very much set in what your priorities are and what your goals are, which is really cool. But Whizzy, on the other hand, are you in the same sort of vein, or any different?
Yeah, similar. I think, you know, looking at the dates, just kind of the fact that they overlap so much is not ideal. I think I've never played you know, any Zerota championship, any Zerota competition, so it's difficult for me to say if I, you know, enjoy those kind of maps. But I enjoy watching them. But yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, similar to Stealth, we can really take advantage of people trying to focus on Ascension a bit more, and yeah, maybe that will leapfrog us. And I think the and also there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that we could make it to the lands of Ascension. You know, the competition's going to be really fierce, and ultimately, if I were to enter, then it's a bit of a gamble. You know, the whole kind of thing of, like I said before, I don't actually know if I'm good at these maps, and would I enjoy it? Who knows? So it would be a bit of a gamble, and it could potentially be a waste of time. So um, yeah, I think we for me, I'm going to, yeah, same book as stuffs, and try and, you know, use the whatever time I have to focus on regionals, and try and promote the 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 skills we have that way, I think.
A lot of sense. I mean, that's, if you have limited practice time, not splitting it is definitely a good idea between this and that's Trackmania almost more than any other competitive game, right? Because you gotta know the maps in particular. It's not just about driving and, you know, generally getting more skilled in that sense, although that's obviously a part of it, but just actually knowing the maps for the competitions that you're playing is very important. And yeah, I love to hear it. I'd also be slightly interested then in actually hearing how much you guys are practicing, you know, like what is the practice schedule like? Are you putting in, you know, hours every night, or is it kind of, you know, once a week? Are you practicing a lot together? Do you have a dedicated time during the week? I mean, again, whoever wants to answer can, and you don't need to reveal all your secrets, but I'd like to know.
I think for me, we haven't really, we've done a few practice matches. That stuff has organised. And they've been very useful. I think for just the sole matches, we kind of practice, you know, by ourselves. We have section maps, of course. I think, you know, kind of take inspiration from what a lot of the Grand League players are doing, a lot of the Challenger League players are doing, and I think that's really useful. And For me, it was a bit of. I don't really have a routine. I guess it was kind of more just an immediate. What do I feel like in these practice? What's I could look at the because all my I could say all my PBs are online. I don't have any PBs offline, so I can just look at the leaderboards and kind of go, I kind of need to improve here, and I'll just spend a bit of time on that. So not really, at least for me, not really a fixed schedule or anything. Just more of a I feel like doing this map or this map.
Is that vibes related then a little bit as well when you're deciding which sections? Or is like you're just because as you say, you can look at the overall times and say, okay, this map I need to improve on. Do you just kind of know yourself then which sections of the track you need to improve on, or do you have a way of kind of figuring that out objectively, say?
Um, I would say, I mean, usually I play through the map and I kind of, fortunately with these seasons or these stages maps, the difficulty is quite, or the sections that are quite difficult are quite nicely split up. So there'll be sections where I'm fairly comfortable on, but then there'll be fairly clear areas which I need to work on. So, for instance, I've made an individual map for the control cake jump or the identities, for instance. I think that's a good thing with World Tour. It's very clearly it's very easy to build maps for one single corner.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, yeah, I just kind of play through the map, just regular time trial, and if I find that I need to respawn in certain areas to get it really good, then I kind of know, okay, that's an area I need to focus on.
I mean, that makes sense. Stufts, then I'm interested in hearing because, as you said, one of the big transferable skills for you coming over from another game that you played quite competitively was that edge in training. I think you were kind of saying, right, like a lot of it is mental, just that ability to know where you have to improve, to the discipline to then actually force yourself to improve there. Do you find that like there's any routine that it has helped you with as well, or is it just kind of that mental side as well?
I think it's mostly mental. I've had recently very little time compared to what I had before when I started TM. But I have, like, just as Whizzy, really go with a map that you don't really understand yet, some parts. Use the practice maps, the identity versions, compare some goes with other people, and especially the practice maps helps a lot because you're kind of put in a situation similar to regionals with some stress, some nerves, and that kind of I really see for myself where I need to practice, and that also helps me a lot going into the regionals.
That's actually let's get slightly controversial with it. Not very controversial, but like obviously World Tour maps and the World Tour mapping style. And Whizzy, you can excuse yourself, if you want to. You don't want to talk about that much, but just the idea of these very difficult maps that have the identity at the end, and there's a lot of weird features to them in general as well. I personally think one of the big advantages of that is that, like, hey, anyone who's playing these maps at that competitive level is going to have to put in probably tens to hundreds of hours on these maps over the course of a season. And the fact that there is things that you don't pick up on first class that you still need to be learning about them a couple of months into playing the maps is a benefit. Like that is a feature, not a bug of the maps, that players don't play through them and understand them the first time. And as people who are now putting a lot of that time in, but aren't necessarily maybe putting in the same hours as some of the players in the Challenger League and Grand League because they're, competing at that very top level, do you kind of feel that same way, or am I just completely way off base?
Well, I think for our level, it's nice that you continually get better on the maps going through the regionals. I also noticed that in stage 1, where at the end in the promotion relegations, I was pretty comfortable on them compared to, let's say, regional 1. But on the other hand, the maps are also, I would say, driving away worse players. With the fact that they have to spend so much time on it. I think that it's not really a good thing. And I have, with a lot of people, been saying that I would prefer normal competitive maps compared to hard identities. But when you are one of the teams that's kind of battles for the top, you have to spend that time, and eventually you will like the maps and enjoy playing them.
Yeah, and this is where I want the controversy to continue, because I think we say it often, but like Nadeo and the esports scene has been created this year. The first year of World Tour deserves a lot of praise. We've actually got an esports scene we can appreciate now. We've got Nualaoch doing casting, professional casters getting paid to do stuff like this. You've got you guys, away to that top level, but there's still a lot of stuff that people pick up on and think, this could be done so much better, or we could do this. And just even today, I was listening to Massa on his stream training for Ascension, and just saying simple stuff, like having player cameras, having a proper pick and ban UI, just simple things like that. And I feel like there is a growing need to have sort of like something in the competitive calendar, at least, that has that, like, as you were saying, stuff, those like maps that are just normal competitive style, but something for those tier 1 players. I hope that's something that comes in the future that can be added to the calendar.
Right, like just more competition across more different styles, I think, is potentially the thing that, to me, like, there's improvements that could be made. Like, look, we know SRK is out there amassing his documents for next year, potentially, of improvements that various people across the community have asked for in various places, and it's out there. There are improvements, but for me, that is one of the things I'd really like to see. Is we have a premier competition, which is the World Tour, and I don't think those kind of World Tour style maps are probably going to change immediately, because it's clear that that's what Nadeo wants as their kind of big product, is these flashy maps that have big, exciting endings that can draw on the casual viewer. I'd love to see, as you say, Babz, there more styles of competition as well, though, that there is just an officially backed tech competition, and it is just classic old school style. Here is a tech competition for the players who want to focus on that, or we're just doing a dirt competition now, like, this is what we're doing, or hey, we've made khaki an official thing for a month, good luck everyone, or just like kind of bringing that, because again, one of the big strengths of Trackmania is that difference in styles and different ways to approach the game, and making that a feature, again, a core feature, rather than just a thing that happens in their game, making that a core feature of their competitive scene, is something that no other game can really do all that well, or at least as effectively as Trackmania has the potential to do.
Yeah, and I think one of the hindrances of World Tour, there are so many benefits, and I'll always have that contrast whenever I have any sort of criticism. One of the hindrances is that it takes up so much time in the whole year. As an event organizer, or at least part of a team of organizers myself, every time you want to do something, you need to look at the calendar, and it's just, if you want to attract tier 1 players, well, you've got like a 2-week time frame to do it, or you just have to give up on actually doing that. So yeah, I'd love to see more variety, as you're saying, and I mean, it's something that can be done so well. There's so many third-party organizers like BITM. We have our own in-house events. I mean, we've just added somebody to the Cuppa team, Ben, who you'll hear from soon, who is from Split, and they organized the STT, so like the Split tag team ice competition, which is full ice. I played in that; it was great fun, and something like that, it's ice tech, as you were saying. Having those players playing, having those old school players. Like, can you imagine Pac, Massa, Carol, and I don't know, like Kappa playing a full tech competition? How fun would that be? I was watching, I'm sorry to ramble, but I was watching Isarix's sort of recap video of the last 3 years of Trackmania on TM 2020. And if anybody hasn't seen that, you should go and watch it. It's a brilliant video, and it hasn't got enough exposure. I tweeted about it earlier today. But it showed the Gamers Assembly, I believe, in 2021, where Pac, I think, took the win. And I was thinking about it, and I was comparing it to Gamers Assembly this year, where I feel like it went by without much notice, and there weren't those tier 1 players. There wasn't the attractiveness, and they were struggling to fill the slots. And it's a pity, because these are supposed to be, part of the calendar, and something that a lot of people want to play in.
But there's a point that Stufts made earlier as well, though, is, if you want to go, for example, and play an Ascension, first of all, maybe you don't really like the map pool, but also you have to learn entirely new maps, right? And I'd be interested, I think. And actually, Whizzy, I'd like to hear what you think about this as someone who does a bit of mapping at the top level for competition as well. But on the idea that you might have a kind of an evergreen pool of maps, essentially, right? That like you just have this pool of maps that persists over maybe even multiple years, so that you can attract tier one players who know they can go into an event and they don't have to train as much. Because that is the downside to Trackmania competition, is that you host a new competition, you have a new map pool, and players have to relearn everything, right? Maybe, you know, if Nadeo again incorporates different map styles, you have your tech maps. Here's a pool of 5 or 10 from which we are going to randomly draw 3 for every event, and then there's an extra 2 that are brand new for that event, and that's the 5 maps for this event. And it just means that there's maybe slightly less time on having to relearn the entire time. But equally, I don't know, as a mapper yourself, that's a very difficult thing then to make tracks that are interesting enough to return for 2 or 3 years and be competition staples.
I think it's I have a couple of things that I'd like to add to that, which is the first one, which I'd say is, I think I was watching Wetzel's main video about the whole Hokalicious. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, how fantastic would it be? Because everyone's superbly. So this is before the kind of cut era. So just full driving, the standard way. How epic would it be? Have an official. It doesn't have to be official, and it's something that all the top players who know the tracks off by heart, they can get in. They just go full ham on it. I think but then again, here's the kind of devil's advocate is you can't really do that, because I think now there's almost like an expectation. There's such a high demand and a high expectation of maps now that it's so difficult to to make something that would last 3 years, 3 years, because I mean, just look at the World Tour or the Grand League. 2 months, and then people are already kind of going, yeah, we need a new pack, we need, and these are regarded as the kind of top esports top esports maps. So it's a very tough one, but yeah, I think what could be cool is just let me know if I need to shut up. Is I think we could have and I think this would attract mappers as well, is have an official map request from Nadeo, or it doesn't have to be from Nadeo, it can just be just a general map request. So you get all of the top mappers from classic mappers, all the ones who want to participate, to work together to make, a 40-second, 50-second, 1 minute, just some sort of competitive track. So it's the top quality possible. And then you, from let's say you get 100 submissions, I don't know, you narrow that all down to the top 5. So then you've got debatably the top 5 possible competitive maps, which span over 3 years, and then you just play competitions on that. I don't know. I think I could, attract newer players wanting to learn the game, because then they can watch the ghosts of the top players.
And there's a bit of stability there over a couple of years as well. So you go back and you watch competition from a year ago, and you say, "Oh, I want to see what's going on." Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean, is doing that and having a pool, especially if you're not using all the maps from that pool in every event, it's semi-randomly selected or however you want to do it. That if there's 5 maps and 2 of them show up at a weekend tournament, again, players know what to expect, new players know what to expect, and if you add an extra couple of maps in there that are fresh for the event, it's cool, it's exciting, and you have that stability. But sorry, I cut you off there.
No, I was pretty much done anyway. But yeah, it's just difficult, I think, because there's now that kind of, I mean, we see it in Track of the Day as well, that kind of there's such a high, standard of mapping that is expected, rightfully so. It's been, all the top mappers are improving, new mappers are improving so rapidly because they're learning from the best mappers. So yeah, the quality is, being slowly raised. And so therefore the demand for the new but also the best maps are increasing as well. So it's a tough one.
I mean, so what I'm hearing from you, Izzy, I'm just going to boil everything you said down to one key idea, which is that we should just include Hockalicious in every competitive map pack just forever.
I mean, for those down, then they can type one in chat. But
Hockalicious in every event for the rest of the time. Type one in chat if you agree.
But yeah, I don't know, just something that can have just a bit more, that can just last a bit longer. Because let's be honest, I don't know, pretty much, and there's not many people who would go back and play, the 2021 Grand League maps. Why would you? There's no point really. So unless you want to, then go for it. But there's no, there's no drive to. But yeah, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, it is difficult. It's something as well. I mean, we mentioned a little bit about the map pack. It's like the naming of the maps as well. They're extremely forgettable. Like once you move on to another map pack, it's kind of like somebody will mention the name of a map, and then you'll ask them, "Oh, what identity was that?" Because you can't exactly remember what actual map it was. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from with having something running through years, not only one event, because everything is increasingly going towards Fastner, and despite a TMGL map pack being used for a whole season. And it's one of my concerns with World Tour, because it has been doing well, but recently we have been seeing the numbers start to sort of fall off and dwindle a little bit. There's a lot less teams entering into regionals, and that might be why, like what Stuff said about the more casual players or less good players being turned away by the map pack. But yeah, I mean, there's rumblings around the community that people are like, World Tour is getting so far, and it feels like somebody outside of that could even like compete with World Tour if it a third party competition was brought about. It's kind of like having watched like the CS:GO major that's just gone by. Obviously, Valve don't do any events themselves, but it's all third party organizers who know what they're doing and put on these amazing events. I can just see maybe our esports. That's maybe something that it needs. Something a fresh influx of somebody who recognizes what we have here and what could be done. Yeah, I mean, I'm just spitballing.
Trackmania is fundamentally, it is just so hard to make a single tournament that pleases, first of all, both players and viewers, and then also all of the different factions within both of those two groups. Players who prefer certain styles of maps, viewers who like watching different styles of map, viewers who want to be able to play the maps along with the players, and therefore the really high difficulty turns them off. Trying to attract new viewers while still making it interesting for old viewers. Really, really hard. Again, harder almost in Trackmania than any other game, because CSGO is CSGO, no matter what level you're playing the game at. Like, that is just, it's CSGO. Same with Fortnite, same with League of Legends, with Rocket League. Like, it is the same game. But Trackmania, because the map is the main thing that drives the competition, you need to build the map to the level of the player. It'd be like, I don't know, like going into Diablo and setting the difficulty to an absolute maximum and giving that to new players on level 1 accounts and being like, here is the professional experience. You're not equipped for it. Off you go. Like, enjoy it, right? Like, this is what it is. And it's more obvious, I think, in Trackmania than a lot of other things. But yeah, and as a result, Babz, I think my point on that then is kind of that, yeah, potentially the best option is kind of what I was saying earlier, is diversity of events is probably going to be very important for the Trackmania esports scene. And whether that comes from Nadeo or external organizers, that diversity is big. It's part of the reason I think people get so excited for Ascension and got so excited for the ZRT Cups, is because not only was the prize pool huge and it was attracting really good players and it was happening in arenas, but like, it's also just so different from the established esports that goes on otherwise. Like, it's completely out there, and like, that means it's fresh and fun and exciting and appeals to different parts of the community.
Completely agree.
Yeah. I'm running out of questions, Babz. I kind of level with you on this.
I'm decently happy with what we've covered today. I think we've got a good insight to who Stufts is and the story behind Stufts, and into the duo that we have alongside us. think there's just a lot of stuff to be excited about coming in the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be excited about in the future. I have to get it in at least once tonight. I'm sorry, Stufts. I didn't look. It's thank you very much to Stufts and Whizzy for joining us here tonight. Stufts in particular, you've been here all evening now. Is there anything else that you haven't said that the world needs to know?
I don't think so. I've made my points, said who I am. I think I am happy with how it went.
That's great. Is there anywhere, can they follow you on Twitter?
Twitter
Twitter's
is
underneath
right there on
there.
the screen, yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I can't read. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Whizzy, yours is also right there on the screen. Thank you for joining us once again. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me once again. It's always enjoyable. So, and I'm looking forward to the future episodes.
Yeah, I think we all are, and that is just about going to wrap things up from here. Babz, do you have any closing words? I suppose I should ask the co-host here. That's
There's a little bit of housekeeping to do before we do end the show. Obviously, I put out a little looking for players, I guess, but for the Cuppa team. Whizzy answered that one, so you're going to be seeing his face a lot more on the episodes. I mean, you already have been seeing him quite a bit, but you will continue to do so. I'm sure everybody's happy about that. A second point to mention is that every single Cuppa episode, except this one, has been uploaded to YouTube. So if you've missed any of them, you can go and have a look. I will put the link to the YouTube in the chat. So make sure to check that out.
That means I can finally go and find the episode where the picture of me in bed was shown.
Yes, that was a good one.
Missed it. And by the time I went to go and check for it, the VOD was gone from Twitch.
Yeah, but all of those episodes have kindly been put up thanks to the work of some of the people behind the scenes. Padster is a name to mention, and Leo, of course. Thank you to those guys. So yeah, make sure you go check that out. I'm going to make a tweet about it after this episode as well. And one last thing as well. I mean, there wasn't a lot of motivation for Ascension this week, but I just say stay tuned for next week because we have somebody who might be a little bit more motivated.
Yeah,
motivated for ZRT events.
Excited for an event in France. We'll see how that goes, and definitely going to be a fun episode. They're all fun episodes here. That is, again, in large part to our wonderful guests. Thank you, Whizzy. Thank you, Stufts. Thank you, Babz. Thank you, me. And thank you, Chris, for enjoying your pizza while managing production behind the scenes. I hope it was lovely. I hope there was pineapple on it, and we will see everyone back next week for another episode of Cuppa the Day.
No pineapple.
Yeah, definitely pineapple. Good pineapple.